Fantastic. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining. My name is Gar Whaley. I'm one of the co-founders here of Teal. I'm joined today by our crack marketing team, Brittany and Caden. Thanks for joining, guys. How are you today?
Great.
Good.
Ready to talk about some of our secret backstage stuff and how we do marketing and that sort of thing?
Oh yeah.
Ready.
Okay, guys. Remember, we always try to keep these to 20 minutes. Today, I know you guys have a lot of special stuff to talk about. We may go a little bit over, but we'll send the recording out as always to people that sign up. So if you can't stay, feel free to jump off. But if those are the basic ground rules, ask any questions you have as we're going through it. If that's it, Britt, Caden, we'll get started. Caden, I think you wanted to share your screen and uh, start with some automated citation research. Is that how I should say it?
Yeah, it's basically just research. So essentially, one of the things that I've always noticed recently is that I'm running out of time to do research for a bunch of different things. And one of them is citations. So let me share my screen here. I've created an automation that runs every single month, and it basically goes through, it looks at specific topics that I've thrown into this automation, and it pulls reputable sources and like different data points and statistics for each of the things. So anything
So,
new,
Caden, what's the business case? I'm not sure I quite got that. You want to cite?
sure. Yeah, so this is basically if you want to create blog posts, you want to have citations in your blog posts, you want to share things on social media, that sort of thing. So this example here shows like artificial intelligence, automation, and it just collects, whatever's new in the news, essentially, what's trending right now, what did people just put out. So it's just a really handy thing to set up an automation to do. But you could also set up something similar for competitive research. So you can analyze what your competitors are doing. Are they doing anything new? Have they kind of switched gears? But you could easily set up an automation for that.
So that is the output. What tool do you use to set up the automation?
Currently, I'm using Claude. I'm using Claude Cowork to set up the automation.
So when you go into Claude, you go into Cowork, you set up an automation that says, give me all the citations in the last week for artificial intelligence.
Essentially, yeah. And then I fed it like specific sources that I wanted to pull data from. So in this instance, I've got like Gartner's in there. I've got the DoD CIO websites in there. So yeah,
And then, so then it automates this, what, weekly for you?
this is done for me every single month, just so I have a good collection of data points to use in the next month's campaigns.
As you're writing campaigns and blog posts and things like that.
Correct. Yep.
Fantastic. Anything to add on that, Britt?
Not for me.
All right. That's pretty cool. I should do that myself just for like my own LinkedIn posts and stuff if I
Yeah.
want to find citations. I guess I don't need to automate it though because I don't write that many LinkedIn posts, but that's a great idea.
Good.
So next, I think you want to talk about automatic blog uh, production, draft
Yeah.
production.
Yeah. So I'm using Claude Cowork to create blog drafts for myself, but they're not even just blog drafts. They have SEO driven content creation essentially. So I'll give you an example here. Right at the very top, this was all pulled in from the SEMrush MCP that is connected to Claude Cowork. So I pulled in not even just the primary keyword, which I actually identified when I was creating the content plan, but it pulled in supporting keywords and then added said keywords into the blog draft itself. And I have like very defined instructions for how each blog is created. So it's running on, I couldn't even tell you, probably like 1,000 words if I had to guess of instructions to create these different blog posts and the formatting.
And I just wanted to jump in. You mentioned SEMrush. That's the SEO tool we're using that kind of does a little bit
Correct.
of everything SEO, GEO.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so that's a lot, guys. And Britt, I'm glad you asked that question. So for folks that don't know, SEMrush is the tool that we use, that we pay for to help us with SEO.
Yep.
Correct.
And you said some other thing there, Britt. Didn't catch it. Something that rhymes with SEO. What was that?
GEO, so the AI driven.
And then one thing that I would like to point out when you're doing stuff like this, you definitely want to make sure that you're not just creating an automation and just running it and then posting it as is. You want to have a human in the middle to go in and validate, are any of the citations that the AI has put in there, are they accurate? Is it on brand with, the company's guidelines? It's really important.
So that was my next question. So thanks for answering that, Caden.
Yeah.
So our blog posts are and our marketing campaigns are true to the spirit of Teal. They're also written as Caden and Brittany. I mean, it's very clear that it's you writing it and or Brittany or maybe even Hayden. I'm sorry, Haley. Um, so how do you do that?
I'm not sure I understand the question. What do you mean?
Well, you just explained that we don't just you don't have an automation that produces a great blog post that has all the SEO, GEO stuff that you want, and it has the content you want. You're suggesting, and I agree, obviously, to not just post that because it has to be
Correct.
tealized, if you will.
Correct.
And I'd
Yeah.
say even ours are even deeper. They're Cadenized or Brittanyized or
Yeah.
Haleyized, right?
Yeah.
So how do you? And you suggested the
It's all
person
during,
in the
I
middle.
see what you're saying. It's all during the proofreading process. So I go through and I look at the blog and I edit it as I go through and I proofread the article itself and I make sure that it's aligned with our brand.
So this
So
this
it's essentially pulling in all of the data, doing a bulk of the work for me, but I go through and I make sure that it is aligned with the brand specifically.
so it speeds you up,
It speeds me up 100%, yeah.
or it makes it's Caden times three, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, it
Okay.
does.
Okay. So I wanted to just not to elongate this, but I think it's important. You talked about the instruction set, and you
Hmm.
said maybe it's 1,000 words. You're not sure, but it's a lot of words.
It's
So
a lot, yeah.
do you use that? If it's an automation, I assume you use the same instruction set each time, or do you have a
Yes.
different instruction set for blogs or LinkedIn posts, or are there many instruction sets?
There are many different types of instructions for the different tasks. So in this instance, I have a set of instructions that is for Teal Co-Manage, but then I have a separate set of instructions for blogs for Teal CMMC, and then a separate set of instructions for Teal because they're three separate brands. They have different audiences. They require different messaging for these audiences. So they're very similar in how they structured the articles themselves, but they're more tailored to those audiences.
Got
And
it.
then the
Got
same
it.
is true for like if I want to use, and I'm using Claude projects to do this. But if I'm going out and I'm creating a Google post, it does the same thing. It's got a different set of instructions for how I want it to be formatted for said audiences.
And then do you have it formatted for our brand guidelines?
I do, absolutely.
And that's a separate set of instructions.
It is. Yeah, that's
Cool.
actually being fed in through the folder attached to the project.
Got it. Got it. So now you wanted to talk, I think, about large content production. Is that the right way to say it?
That is correct. Yeah. So, for instance, after this event is done, I'm going to take the transcript and I'm going to put it into Copilot, and it's going to create everything that I need to get this video live on our website and on YouTube. And I've already generated this. So up here, if I were to click this, it would pull out the whole transcript, but I'm not going to do that because that's going to be super long. Um, but this is what it output. I created an agent, kind of the same thing with Claude. I gave it a certain set of instructions. I put in training material into the back end, and then it gives me different title recommendations, the YouTube description. It gives me chapters, and a lot of these, Copilot's pretty good at trying to align it with SEO. So it'll put all that in here. Um, YouTube tags, and then down here, if I scroll a little bit, we have all the landing page content. And again, it's the same sort of process. I would go through, proofread, add in any like if I want to add specific links to our YouTube description to direct people in a certain area, I'll do that. But yeah, it just makes the whole process so much faster.
So you basically took the process you did manually and you built it inside of Microsoft Copilot,
Hmm.
which again speeds you up or makes you Caden times three.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. Why did you go from uh, Claude to Copilot?
Honestly, I could do it in either one. This is just one of the original ones that I've created. I haven't created one in Claude.
Oh, so we just for everybody's knowledge, we started in Copilot, then we went to Claude. So you when you were doing this before we went to Claude, so it works,
Correct.
so you just
Yep.
leave it.
Yep.
So given that you've kept it there, I guess it just does as good as you think Claude would do.
Um, Personally, I like the output of Claude better. I'll probably end up migrating this over to Claude eventually. I just haven't had the time yet to do so.
That's your comment today, but we won't hold you to that in 3 months. 3 months it might be ChatGPT. Who knows? All right, that's pretty cool. So the next step, I guess, is or the next thing you want to talk about, I think, is survey data or repurposing survey data.
I can certainly move on to that, yeah.
Did I miss something?
I did have something else in here. So my example was just that you can use a notebook in Copilot and then
Oh,
train
okay.
it.
Yes, notebooks and Copilot.
Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah. You train it with primary sources. So in this instance, it's CMMC, which is a compliance requirement, related documentation from the original source put into this notebook, and then I can use this notebook to validate any claims that I'm making in a blog. Like, am I stating this correctly according to the documentation, that came from the source? I can find gaps. Am I missing anything in my articles or my LinkedIn posts that maybe I should be capitalizing on? Um, so just for, you know, a short little demonstration, put describe a detailed explanation of CMMC in this notebook. Hopefully it won't take too long. I did say a detailed explanation, so I guess we'll find out. Maybe you can ask some questions while it's doing its thing.
I got plenty, Caden. You know that.
Okay.
So this is news to me, Caden.
Yeah.
I've been using Notebook LM for this
Okay.
in Google.
Yeah.
So maybe Reed and I need to do a Copilot notebook webinar
Oh, yeah.
because this is essentially the same thing I do with Notebook. Uh, it's a Notebook LM.
I
What is the
believe
Google?
so. I
It's
think
Notebook LM, I think. But that's
Yeah.
what I've been using, and I think that's what Reed's been using for Notebook. I didn't know it was in
Interesting.
here, so
Yeah.
that's great. So the business case that I use for this is similar to what you just said. And
Hmm.
I actually used it for CMMC as we were going through our CMMC certification audit process. Anything I would get, a YouTube video, a website reference, any notes I took, I'd put it all in that notebook um,
Okay.
so that I could, when I needed to go back and figure out, you know, an objective, I would go in there and research
Yeah.
it. So I'd build that. But anyways, it looks like this came back. So what were you going to say?
Yeah, it's just really, really helpful. It's really handy to go in. And I mean, you could even use this from a marketing context. Like maybe you put in some sources from your research that you've done, and then you ask it a question to pull out a source for you to add to a blog. And it has many applications.
Yeah, so back to my application. Anytime I'm taking a note or I want to remember something about CMMC, excuse me, I put it in my notebook LM on
Hmm.
CMMC. I guess I need to move that to Copilot
Yeah.
because then I can use internal resources. We don't have, I don't think we have Google connected to our Office 365. But anyways, this is a good one. So now that you've shared
Now,
that, let's move on to repurposing survey data.
yeah, so a lot of times as marketers, we go out and we do surveys for our clients or our customers or for our leads and stuff. And we don't do enough with the survey data, I feel like. But with AI, you can actually now take the data and create personalized reports that you can give to those people to help them with whatever you're trying to help them with, right? Move them through the campaign process. And in this instance, this is from our AI readiness report. So we took all the data that came in from our survey. We have a big prompt, right? And it runs through all the different things, the
Sorry, Caden,
branding,
what was the survey on? I didn't quite catch that.
AI readiness.
Oh, you mean when we send that to prospects and clients about
Correct.
their AI
Right.
readiness, we get these
Yep.
services. Sorry, thanks for
Yep.
explaining.
Yeah. So we pull in all the data, we combine our writing guide, we combine our brand guidelines, and we have it filter through all of the data that's in there to generate this personalized report. So we don't just send out like a general report to everybody, right? This is specific to each person who fills out the survey response. So it's tailored. And then it's a really big deal because everybody wants to see data that's about themselves, right? So the more personalized, the better.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing that we are doing very well with our marketing, and certainly sales, is hyper personalization.
No.
And AI, I think, has really helped us to up our game in that area. So we're not
100%.
sending the same things to 50,000 people. We're sending a lot of personalized things.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Reed Johnston is our CITO. So this one was probably easy to personalize because we know him pretty
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
All right, that's great. Britt, anything to add on the stuff Cadence talked about that the two of us might have missed, or you want to jump into something else?
Just that it's really great at analyzing big groups of data. So the surveys is just one example of that, but just looking across all of your marketing tools and being able to kind of analyze that and then output that personalized result. And then this, we can take it a step further and give it the branding guidelines and make it a personalized branded result. So it still takes a little bit of care to fix everything up in the end, but it gets you to that endpoint a lot faster than if you were doing that manually analyzing all that and producing it. So yeah, it's very powerful.
So just because we mentioned it a few times, um, how how do we get brand guidelines into the uh, AI that we're using?
So in the case of Claude, it actually has what's called a design system that you can put in there. And that does everything from telling it what the H1, H2, all your headings should look like to examples of when to use certain logos and colors, how to highlight links. It will take your input of whatever you give it. So we started with some brand guidelines that we already had and kind of put it into the design system. And then it generated a list of questions to make sure that everything looked appropriate. And then once you get all that finalized, that becomes your Teal main design brand. And it will use that in anything that you design going forward. So if you say use the Teal brand design, it will create what you're asking for with that design.
So are you talking about Claude design, or are you talking about just using a skill within a Claude chat?
Both. I was referencing Claude Design because that's where I work with a lot of the bigger design creations, but you can do the same thing in regular Claude skills as well.
So, Caden, when you're talking about outputting this, which one are
Mhm.
you talking about?
I actually uploaded all of our reports or our documents into the project itself. So I create a project and then I have an attached folder so it can reference the documents.
So when you say reference, you're talking about the brand design
That is
document.
correct. Yep.
Okay, so you're using it. You're not using Claude Design. You've put a brand. We have brand guidelines or documented brand guidelines. You put them in a folder that's attached to the project, and that's where it looks at. Versus Brittany for bigger design things is using Claude Design. Way off the script, but I mean
Yeah.
we've talked about it a lot, and I think that's very helpful to other marketers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Britt, you want to bring us home with executive summaries?
Yeah, it kind of leads into taking all of that data and analyzing it across systems. Caden has touched on it a little bit, but we have our Claude is connected to our HubSpot CRM. And we also have it connected to Microsoft Teams. So it's kind of in SharePoint, which is where we store a lot of our data. Let me go ahead and share my screen and I can show an example of how I would
So
have.
natively, just to be clear, we have it connected through native integrations, HubSpot, Apollo, Microsoft 365. Hayden
Yeah.
also mentioned SEMrush.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can take this data and then you can then turn it into a KPI presentation. So all of these campaigns and blogs and things that Caden is working on, I can then use Claude to analyze that all at once and then generate a presentation for me. So on the right-hand side here, this is actually Claude integrated into PowerPoint. And this is a prompt that I gave it. I do have a finalized presentation in case this takes too long, but I'm just having it create a presentation with a summary of our HubSpot data. So it then will give me a prompt. We'll see what it does here. When I did this, I used kind of dummy data to fill it in. But it will ask me some questions to kind of get down to exactly what it's looking for. So it might want to look for, again, last quarter, year to date, anything like that. What part of the data do you want us to focus on? If it's just the marketing funnel, customer health, you can actually tell it custom things you want it to go look for. You can then have it kind of go there. You can dictate how long you want the slide presentation to be. Let me stop sharing this and share a finalized presentation so you can get an idea of what kind of output with very minimal, I'd say minimal feedback into Claude, it was able to come up with this. And then we would then take this and kind of iterate on top of it. Sorry, give me 1 second here. There we go. Okay. Can you see the finalized presentation?
Yep.
So this is something that I generated with the same prompt. It asked me a bunch of questions. I had it use filler data for now, so this technically isn't connected into HubSpot, but it puts in placeholders, so then you could either use Claude to fill it in with your actual data, or you can go in and manually type it in.
But
I
Britt,
did
if
not.
you had just let the other one run, it would have used real.
Yes, exactly. And that's what we did for our executive leadership KPI presentation. I actually let it run from HubSpot, pull live data, and kind of went back and forth conversationally with the Claude AI to fix pages and include certain things that I wanted in the presentation. But this was done with the same prompt and filler data. It's pulling the colors in the theme based on the Claude design system I created. So this is all connected to my Claude design system. It's you can see there's a few visual errors. It's not something that's going to create a
Britt,
perfect product.
just sorry to interrupt, but you said it's connected to Claude Design, which is different than what the way Caden's doing it. So how do
It
you
is.
get this PowerPoint connected to Claude Design?
I have this all connected through my Claude account. Um, So this is, I'm logged in, it's a personal
Yep.
settings through Claude, and I have it connected over to like everything I create by default is connected into Claude Design. So we have a design system and that's set as default. And as long as you're connected to your Claude Design account, it will produce something with that design branding system. And I think I went as far as to tell it to use the Teal main brand design system when I was creating it. It should do it automatically if you're logged in though. But yes, so this kind of generates out it stylized this. I didn't give it any other than saying use the Teal brand guidelines, which have um don't have a particular PowerPoint. This kind of came up with everything from the start. It would pull in live data. It could analyze it for you. You'll notice it includes takeaways here. So it was very powerful in pulling all the data across our CRM
So if you
into
just go
one.
back one slide to comment on the takeaway. So the takeaway in that slide, SMB segment is winning fastest, enterprise win rates need attrition. Obviously, that's fake data, but it came up with that. You didn't lead it to that. It analyzed the data and made that suggestion. And that's what it did with our production quarterly spreadsheet as well. I mean,
Yeah.
PowerPoint as well.
Yes. For example, we had one that looked at where the source of all of our leads came from. And then I had it came up with a takeaway based on which parts of or which sources rather were the stronger of our lead creation, and then which ones might have been caught having a problem or not as strong, or those leads didn't get as far into the funnel. So it will take all of your data and it will analyze it. It actually included these takeaways by default, but you can also have it analyze each slide, include a takeaway at the bottom as well. So I could then come back and say, include a takeaway at the bottom of each slide. And sometimes it'll come back with more questions if it needs clarity on what you said. This one looks like it's going to just kind of read all of the slides it's already created and add a takeaway. We'll see how long this takes. Sometimes it's quicker than others. It depends on how big your presentation is. I think our executive presentation was slightly bigger than this, so it did take a little bit to kind of read it and come back. But then it'll take it and it'll adjust your slides for you. So it's more like having a conversation with the AI and making minor tweaks as you go through.
So, Brittany, we're sort of coming up on the end of time, and I have some questions though. But I wanted to make sure: is there anything else that you wanted to show?
This was the main thing, just being able to kind of read the data, pull it into a presentation, make edits as you go, looking at the design system, that kind of stuff.
So let me start with my questions then. Excuse me. So before we used AI to help with this process, we had a process
we did.
where we did this. So we produce a quarterly executive report for our organization on success and opportunities in sales and marketing. We do that proactively, and we were doing it by hand. So we had a pretty nice PowerPoint, but how did that get created?
Well, I can tell you the process. We would normally have several meetings between you and I where you and I would go out and pull the sales and marketing data. So we would have to go into HubSpot manually or into our Excel sheets manually to look at all the data. We would then take that data and put it into a KPI board, and I would then from there take that data and put it into
KPI board where?
We use Monday.com as our project planner, and that's where our KPI board lives, which mirrors what is in HubSpot. Which
And we
now
also
Claude
do
is
we have
connected
Claude
to.
connected to Monday?
Yes, and it will update everything for us now. So if I said pull how many leads we created in quarter 1 and update our KPI board in Monday, it would do that for me. It would less manual work of me having to actually log into the CRM, log into Monday to kind of update both those fields. But yeah, it was meetings between you and me to make sure that our data matched both systems and then get it into the presentation. And then there was a review process from there. That was our original process.
So how has this shortened it then?
This is less of us going back and forth between the systems and checking, and more, I started with the Claude uh, plugin for PowerPoint, and I generated this presentation based on all the data in both systems. So I was able to do that part without having you and I meet ahead of time and then pulled both the data manually. And then we were able to just take the presentation, have a separate meeting with you and I where we reviewed it, edited it, obviously proofed it to make sure that there were no errors that the AI had. And then from there, it was more of a final product. So less in between meetings and a lot less manual data analyzing.
Yeah, because we have reports, even when we used to do it manually before we used AI, we have a ton of reports and dashboards inside of HubSpot, but
Yeah.
it's just a lot of places to look. Like we have a report on what we call hand raisers or first time appointments or leads, MQLs, SQLs.
Yes.
And actually, you do have a few nice reports that put those all in one dashboard, but it was like going from that back to PowerPoint, typing in 32 or what have you. And
Yeah.
now you can get it produced. So, sort of last question on this before I ask Caden if he has anything to add to this part is um, it just eluded me now.
Well, I can show you the update that it did while we were talking.
Yeah,
So in
do
that
that.
time that you were talking, I had it go through and update all of the slides. So now each of them has a if they're going to change. But you can see on the left side over here, sometimes it's a little slow. There it goes. It has now added a kind of takeaway or bottom line to all of these slides. So it went through and adjusted the layout, looked at the data. If the data is accurate, it's going to give you a more accurate key takeaway, not the filler data, but it's going to look at it and come up with some sort of takeaway or thing that it would need for this presentation. And I styled this one as a presentation that was being shown to leaders in marketing and sales on the team, but you could do it for your leadership team. So it might be executives outside of your team, and it'll kind of gear that data to what is important for that team.
Great. I still can't remember my question, but it was a good one too. Caden, on this part, anything that you wanted to add that Brittany and I might have missed?
The only thing that I can think of is it also reduced the strain on the design because a lot of the stuff was created inside of Claude. So we had some just cleaning up to do, but otherwise, the bulk of it was done. So that's really helpful. It just minimizes the time that we spent on it too.
That is
Great.
true. Yeah, I
All right. So I think that's it for today, right?
think so.
So just sort of in summary, we use AI and we use AI to multiply the work hours, if you will, or simplify manual processes. We've hooked it into every tool we use. Is there a tool we use that we don't have some AI hooked into?
I don't think so. I
I
think it's
can't think of one.
everything. Even
Yeah.
HubSpot has their own native
Yeah.
AI system. So
So yeah, so that's what I was gonna say next is we even use Breeze inside of HubSpot for some things.
yeah,
At a high level, the majority of work we do is with Claude from a sales and marketing perspective, but
yeah,
we also use Copilot, as Caden showed, for a lot of things. Personally, if I'm just working with Office 365 data, uh, I just use Copilot. And generally speaking, for anything non-sales and marketing related, I use Microsoft Copilot. And until today, I used to use Notebook LM from Google, but now Caden has shown me that I should be using notebooks within Copilot.
yeah.
Guys, any last words on marketing AI and how we use it before we sign off?
It's really powerful. It's great for the analyzing data. It's great for repeatable processes, making those smoother and just kind of facilitating your work, not hindering it.
Yeah, I would say be open-minded. If you're kind of wary of AI, it is really, really powerful and it can help you do so much. And then just always keep the human in the loop.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one, Caden. You said that earlier.
Yeah.
You gotta double check the stuff. Even when
Yeah.
I'm using it, I often find myself in Claude arguments. But hey, guys, this has been great. I'm sure it'll be helpful to other marketers. Thanks for taking the time, folks. Thanks for joining us. We'll send out a copy, I think, of this to people that participated. Maybe there'll be a blog or an outline or something like that. But
Yep.
really appreciate your time. Have a great day, Britt, Caden. Enjoy. Thanks for sharing your expertise.
Yep.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.